So, well, I can't believe we're already in week 9. We're at Chet. It's wow, it goes so fast. We're already on our 9th letter. And I am blessed to be here with you. I'm blessed for those of you who are here live. We're doing this class weekly, and then you'll be listening on the replay. And what I would love to see happen is no matter where you're watching live or on the replay, leave comments, especially if you go into your library and if you're watching from there, leave comments, leave questions so that you feel like you're interacting. Because I think it's important that you're not just standing and just like staring at a screen, right? I think that that's really important to do that. So we want to encourage you for that. Encourage you to get in there and do that. Also encouraging you on the word studies. And I think I might just start out by, instead of jumping in on the, I'm going to start out just by kind of showing you what the word studies and you look like. You do have these blank in your library. If you go into the library, it is in there. I'll show you, well, I'll just show you in a different way, but you go in there and I have already downloaded the blank ones and you can fill them out. And this is kind of what they look like. If you open, this is also, can I just say, this is also great, especially for your a little bit older kids who you can start teaching. So important. I know this year you're going to hear saying this so many times. You're going to want to like plug your ears, but equip, 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 equip. And I know that is my heart. That's what I'm hearing the Father tell me, that it's not my job to just sit and talk to everyone. It's my job to equip you so that you can do it yourself. And so that's what has to happen, is I need to equip you to do it yourself. And that's one of the reasons why these are included. And these come from, I put the link on something. So if you guys look at the top, it doesn't even, the people who actually have done these before, I liberally borrowed some of them. So it's kind of fun to have them done, but just giving you ideas, we walk into Psalms 119 before I even jump into my study, but you can see, we just take, and I have put the words like this, and then this is all blank so that you can go on Blue Letter Bible and you can look up each one of the letters. And if you need help with that, please reach out. The first thing I'm going to say is, did you watch the Blue Letter Bibles for Not So Dummy video in your library? And if you are watching this course and you're not a member, that is free to you on therootedcafe.com. If you go into our store, it's a free course for anybody. You just grab it, the Blue Letter Bible for Not So Dummies. And this is going to show you how to do this. So you take the letter. The first thing is, like, he starts out in this, and let's, before I even do this, Father, thank you. Thank you for this time. Thank you for your word. Father, I ask that you just put a watch on my mouth, watch on my tongue, that only your words would come through. And I ask, Father, that you would stir up a desire, Father, to jump into your word and to get closer to you through every letter, through every breath that you've breathed into it, the life that you've put into it. Father, I ask that you would give me wisdom to show me how to equip these ladies so that they can in turn equip others and their children, and they can equip their families on how to, Father, seek after you in your word. Amen. I was talking to someone the other day. We were saying, someday you never know what would happen if the internet went down. Just what happened? What would happen if the internet went down and you didn't have someone to teach? Would you know how to jump in? I recommend that you go, they're so inexpensive now. I remember when they were like $100. Grab a Strong's Concordance so you just have one. So you know how to use it. And I can show you how if you don't know how to use one. And grab like a Gesenius. I recommend the Gesenius, and have like a lexicon. So you go to Strong's and you get the number, and then you go to the Greek lexicon and you know how to use the books, so that if something ever happened and you didn't have an internet for some reason, you would be able to still study a word, still look things up. You would not be paralyzed. And that's the kind of things that I want to equip you with. Back in the olden days, that's what we did. We had it. I know some of you may have been around as long as me, but we just would spread out the books, and you had your big old giant Strong's Concordance, because they're like about this thick, and it's a fun thing to teach your kids too. You would think it's a skill. It's like teaching your kids how to write a check, teaching your kids how to mail a letter. Shockingly, a lot of children don't know how to do that. Writing letters, write out a check, things that you never know that you may need to do someday. And they're actually kind of fascinated by it. Back in the olden days, we used to have to use a book. So the first letter on this is he says, and this letterhead is just, and he is my portion. And I'm just quickly showing you how this works. I have the word portion on for you. So you would look it up in your Blue Letter Bible, and you can see that that's the Strong's number. This is the Hebrew word, the hilek. And it's, what is its meaning? It's kind of an allotted inheritance. this is what we talk. So we're going through and you're looking up this. Now I pretty much on here have, this is coming from probably more of an English perspective. I would love for you guys to look down at the, you guys want me to do it real quick? Because I can. Let's do, so let me just show you. Let me start from the beginning, right? Just really quick for those of you, I can't equip if I don't show you. So thank you for those of you, your grace, as you already know how to do this. You go to blueletterbible.org. This is no different than pulling out your Strongs, and you would say put Genesis, or Genesis, where are we? Who am I? Psalms. You have to spell it right though. 119, and we're in verse 57, and you click there, and here we go. And what you do is you just click the verse, and it's going to break it down for you and give you it's going to give you the transliteration of it. So it's going to take you straight into, we start out with, thou art my portion. So you see this word, my portion, it's 2506. That's where you would put that in that little book. You click on that 2506, and now you want to know what it means. I recommend that you go to the root of that word. Now I know that it's halak, you are my portion, you are my halak. And you can look at what Strong says, but I recommend that you go down, because we don't necessarily want to know the English version of a Hebrew word. We want to know what is the Hebrew meaning of the Hebrew word. And one of the great things is, as we are learning these words, like you're going to be able to see this word halak, you're going to see this right here, and you're going to be like, oh, that's a het. And you're going to be able to go through each one of the letters and go, oh, and as we've learned these letters each week, you're going to go, and as you've been going through probably Brenda's course, which I highly recommend you do this at the same time, going through the alphabet course, discovering the energy of the letters. It is not some woo-woo Kabbalah course on the alphabet. We did have people ask us that. No, we're just sharing. She's sharing with you the breath of God as he's put these letters, and as you see each letter, you will be able to see this hieroglyphic. And we were really blessed to be, I know she and I both were blessed to be under the tutelage of Bill Bullock, because they really taught us to get to this level, and we really have a responsibility now to teach you. This is how we study. This is how the word comes alive. So you come down and you see this word that is translated in English as you are my portion. In Hebrew, it's halak. And it says you are to be smooth. What? To create properly, to smooth something, to cut out of to make smooth. It's like shaving. You are, you can go through and just read the stuff. You're like, wait a minute. And then when you see these ones that are not in all capital, these are kind of like sprinkles and icing on the cake. This is the cake to tell you what this word kind of means. This tells you the sprinkles. So you're saying, okay, smooth stones. It talks about smooth stones. Okay. I just keep building a picture. Don't get confused. Just to a house of a king and princes, well rendered. Okay. Divided, apportioned. This is a portion. This makes a little more sense as it's coming in. Okay. So he's smoothing out the rocks. He's giving me my portion. He's dividing things up. This starts making sense of what he's talking about. And then when you keep scrolling down, you can see all the places that this word is used, which is really, he's saying the word in English for, say, Genesis 14:15 is the first time that word was used. And you'll hear us say that often, the law of first usage. We do have that course in your library. Also free to anyone is also how to study the Bible when we use a word hermeneutics. And the word hermeneutics is just how you study out the words. How do you study out the word? And one of the laws in hermeneutics is the law of first usage. So this is the first usage, Genesis 14:15. But it's interesting when you read this, instead of you are my portion, it doesn't use the word portion. It was translated as divided. So that's interesting that the word was translated divided in this verse. Here it's translated as divided, divide, dividing things up. So you can see that seems to be common, that it's been given. Oh, this one's given. Okay. So do you guys kind of see how it's important that in English, we may have translated as given or divided, and in our English mind, our Western mind, we're like, that makes no sense. That's the reason I ask you to come back, try to build the word picture with what did each one of these letters mean? And then looking at this and saying, okay, to be smooth, he's trying to make things smooth for me. He's trying to work things out for me in that manner. I don't even know if that makes sense. Spend time in it, pray, and then hush, Charlie, right? All right, let's see. Let's see if I can do better this week. Every week I laugh at myself trying to use my PowerPoint. And I always say every week, right? I'm going to slow my mouse down so that it's better. So guess what didn't happen? That. All right. Yay. We're in Psalms 119, 57 through 65, and the letter is Het. His letter is Het. Isn't that cute little lamb? And this is a picture of my granddaughter, and I had to share it because, and I reshared it in, I think I put it back on Facebook because it popped up as a memory of a picture I took of her. She's 6 years old now. This is, when I looked at that picture up close, she's actually in 119. So I thought, oh, this is appropriate. We have to share what she's already studying Psalms 119 at, she's probably, I don't know, 6 weeks old or something. She's so tiny. Again, I'm going to just play this for you guys. I'm enjoying listening to the word. I'm enjoying listening to it in song. And I'm praying that, and I am trying to put these also in your library so that you too can go back and listen to them and start memorizing. Because that was one of the challenges at the beginning of this course was we're going to memorize Psalms 119. And I don't think you have to memorize it verbatim, but I just want you to know it in your heart. So
Psalm 119, verses 57 through 64. Heth. You are my portion, O Lord. I have said that I would keep your words. I entreated your favor with my whole heart. Be merciful to me according to your word. I thought about my ways and turned my feet to your testimonies. I made haste and did not delay to keep your commandments. The cords of the wicked have bound me, but I have not forgotten your law. At midnight, I will rise to give thanks to you because of your righteous judgments. I am a companion of all who fear you and of those who keep your precepts. The earth, O Lord, is full of your mercy. Teach me your statutes.
isn't that great? Don't you just, I can imagine going to put, that's a great thing to go to sleep to, don't you think? I think so. All right. And here we go. Give you your song for the day.
You are my portion, oh Lord. I have said that I would keep your words. I entreated your favor with my whole heart. Be merciful to me according to your word. I thought about my ways and turned my feet to your testimonies. I made haste and did not delay to keep your commandments. The cords of the wicked have bound me, but I have not forgotten your law. At midnight I will rise to give thanks to you because of your righteous judgments. I am a companion of all who fear you and of those who keep your precepts. The earth, O Lord, is full of your mercy. Teach me your statutes.
Okay. So I love that. And I think those are great things to have if you put them in your house. I have it on my, most of us have smart TVs, put it on your YouTube and just put on some, you can type in Psalms 119, 57 through 64, and you'd be surprised at how many songs pop up and they're playing over and over and over in your house. And if you do that each week, you're learning a letter, you're learning those words are pouring over you. And we know that his word does not return void. I want to ask, who's got their mic? Patricia, would you unmute and would you mind reading this for us?
All right. Yahweh is my portion. I promise to obey your words. I sought your favor with my whole heart. Be merciful to me according to your word. I considered my ways and turned my steps to your statutes. I will hurry and not delay to obey your commandments. The ropes of the wicked bind me, but I won't forget your law. At midnight I will rise to give thanks to you, because your righteous ordinance. I am a friend to all those who fear you, of those who observe your precepts. The earth is full of your loving kindness. Yahweh, teach me your statutes.
Thank you. Thank you, Father, for your word. Thank you, Father, that it is blessed and that it brings life to us, especially this portion, Father, with Chet. We know that Chaim, we know that that is life. So you guys can see at the beginning of each one of these is the letter Het. And again, that's the reason why we see this section is a poem. Oops, it's a poem. And so it is it's kind of interesting as you're studying this out, you'll find it's a poem. So it's a little different. It's like a song. And so it's like starting a song out or a poem out. And with each one of the words that start it, where you remember when you're a kid and you wrote a haiku, right? There was rules to the haiku. Well, it's fun, and here there's kind of rules to that. Each section, each of the eight is actually like a haiku. What's interesting, we'll come back, is that the het is the letter eight. That's the number for it, and this is kind of the song of eights. We kind of learn that as well with for het. So he says, God is my portion. You know, this is this is a public proclamation. It's interesting, a proclamation. It's interesting that you have a king, right, who owns everything, who can get anything he wants, and he is like proclaiming, God, you are my portion. I mean, this is his response to these, and like again, publicly. We look at the verse behind that. He says, "This is my own, that I will keep your precepts, and because I'm keeping your precepts, you are my portion." We just continue on. You're my portion. It's not like this value system of everyone else has. We talk, you guys, don't we? We talk about God math. We're like, oh, we have God math. That means, when things work out and there's no reason that it should work out, right? You're at the end of the month. A lot of times we have more month than money. And we're like, oh, what's happening? But at the end of the month, somehow it all worked out. Can I just tell you, there's been so many times in my life that I was on the floor crying, not sure how I was going to pay rent, not sure how something was going to happen. And I want to just quickly share with you, I'm going to actually, let me stop my thing because I want to actually be seen here. I'm going to stop sharing. There was a time, and I haven't shared this testimony before, but we owned a restaurant. My husband and I owned a restaurant. We got to this place where we couldn't pay the rent. We couldn't pay the employees. And the most important thing was I was so concerned is we couldn't pay our help. We couldn't pay the people. And I was devastated, and I'm pacing in my office, crying out to God. The stress was, I'm surprised that my husband ended up putting him in the hospital with some issues with his heart. And thank the Father he didn't let him die at that time because he should have, with what was happening with his heart. But we were so stressed. And I know you know it. I mean, sure, can I just hear from you guys? Could someone tell me, yes, I've been in that place where you literally you can't even breathe. It's just the fear of what's going to happen or what you can't do. That's where I was. And it wasn't just the weight of my family. Like I said, it's the weight of all these other families depend on me. And I'm thinking about King David here. The whole kingdom depends on him. And what is he saying? He's not saying it's me. He's saying, you're my portion, Father. God, you are my portion. So in this, I was like, Father, this is yours. You're our portion. You're the one who brings us. We don't know what to do, but we're giving it all to you. Literally the next day, a man walked in the door. We did not know him, and he handed us a check for $10,000. Did not know him. And what he said was, I saw your testimony, Randy. You gave your testimony at church. We were going to this little church. It wasn't very little. It was actually pretty good size. I heard your testimony about how the Father had saved you and about how he had taught you about giving and about sowing your money into things. Because for my husband at that time was incredibly wealthy and lost everything in 2008. For those of you know, that was he was a general contractor, and he was doing very well, and then lost nothing to the point to, and now here we are losing a restaurant. And he was like, God had to say, teach my husband, you are my portion. It's not my might, not by power, but it's by your spirit that anything is going to happen. And so if someone needs to hear that today, I just want to remind you, he is your portion. So he says to Randy, I heard your testimony. I have this money sitting in a bank account. And we never mentioned to anyone that we were struggling. On the surface, we look like those ducks, right? We're just like on the water, and underneath our feet are going, ah. And so he hands us the check for $10,000 and says, I don't need to ever get this back, but if you decide one day that you get some money and you want to put me on the short list and go ahead and pay me back, but if not, no problem. Isn't God good? I mean, I have miracle after miracle after miracle like that of the times when I gave away. And I know it seems crazy because you're like, I can't give. I don't have anything to give. But sometimes if we aren't giving, we've clogged up the pool. Now, you can go back and look at all of our teachings on tithing. A lot of us have been taught tithing inappropriately, that it's not all about, oh, I have to give 10% to this church, to this big place. I want you to really go in and look at some of our teachings on that. I'm not going to get into it here. But what you need to be doing is if you understand that whole principle of tithing and not just tithing, but then giving and the offerings, sit and pray, Father, gosh, I don't have enough to pay rent, but maybe I have $20. Who do I give this $20? Does someone need diapers? Do you know someone? Ask him to show you someone to give it to. So you start putting that out because you're letting go of your ability to provide, because that's what that does. Giving, he doesn't need it. It's for you. He needs you to relax, to not hold so white knuckle every little thing you have because it's in your might and your power, and I'm going to keep it. And David is saying, you're my portion. You're my portion. I'm the king. I got everything. I live in a castle or whatever. I have everything. But you're my portion. And I think that what a beautiful example. And as a leader, if you're a leader in your home, a leader in a ministry, leader in a business, for me and leading here, I want to say it's important that you walk that out to showing letting them watch you give. Let them see what you're doing. I know for us, there's lots of different things that we sow money into, even in the Rooted Cafe, so that we're not holding on to everything so tight. Some months are hard. You guys can do the math on how many members we have and how much it is every month. You can do the math quick, know the budget. We trust him. He is our portion. So I want to I don't know how else I want to speak that to every person here. If you're stressing about money, how am I going to do this? You're not. So start thinking about him. Let's go back to the spies entering to the land, and they came back. What was the big offense? The reason they couldn't go forward was because they were comparing themselves to the giants instead of God to the giants, or the giants to God, right? So I want to ask you to do that today. Can you compare your situations to God instead of to you and what your abilities are? Because and the minute it sounds simple, but start thanking him. Thank you, Father, that I do not have to deal with this because you're in control. You are my portion. You are my deliverer. You are who I trust in. And just continue to thank him. Let that be a mantra. And is it hard? Yes. Is it simple? Yes. Is it easy? Not always. All right. We'll go back. You are my portion. I hope we just really can grab that onto. If nothing else, that's what we get out of this today. He's saying this isn't like the value systems of others. And a lot of you, I know for me, I'm in a lot of arenas where women are, business owners, and I'm coaching them or training them. And of course, everyone else in the world in the empire mentality is saying, embrace the grind, which is counterproductive in kingdom living. Kingdom is not, let's embrace the grind. It's like, let's get our work done so we can rest, right? So this is really different. We're not talking about this Egyptian mentality. That's not the value system that we trust in. We don't trust in horses and chariots, but we trust in the name of our God. Um, and sometimes you have to speak to yourself, because I think in this situation, that's what he's doing, is he's having to encourage himself. He's having to speak to himself because he's looking at everything, and who knows what's happening at the time. We're not there, but just sometimes you really do just have to tell yourself, self, you are not the boss of all of this. He is. He is my portion. God, you're my portion. And that's what we talk about, encouraging yourself in the Lord. How'd I do? Go back. Yeah. In verse 58, if we skip down in verse 58, in that section, he says, I have entreated your favor with my whole heart, and be gracious to me according to your word. I was doing some research on this, and Rashi says that this is kind of a continuation of 57. He's saying, because he is my portion, I'm going to yearn for him. And I spelled this wrong, I'm sure. The Helasi. Look it up and someone spell it right for me. But when we look to others to be our portion, it's actually idolatry. When we look at ourselves to be our portion, we haven't entrusted ourselves totally, like he's saying, I have entreated your favor with my whole heart. And if you look up that word, it's actually saying, I'm not looking to anything else, but because you're my portion, I'm gonna yearn for you. I'm gonna yearn for your answers. I'm gonna yearn for what you're doing in my life. Because of that, I'm not going to be an idolater. I'm not going to look at other ways or other people. I'm not going to look at my boss or the government, if that's where your provision comes from. Those are not my sources. You are my provider, Father. I am not going to put them in a place that it's an idolatrous position where I'm bowing to them because they're my provider. You're my provider. And instead of that, say, well, you're looking around when he's saying, it keeps on saying, I can be gracious to me according to your word. I've entreated my favor with all my heart. He's got this favor. He's not looking around saying, this is my stuff. It's my thing and my car and I guess he would have a chariot, my chariot and my stuff, my gold. He was saying, this is all because of you. This is yours. And I know this sounds simple, but I don't think that sometimes we really grasp that when we get busy, because we it started out with in idolatry. They started out with like worshiping trees and grass, and that still is the case. They're worshiping these little things, and then they moved on and went, oh, you know what, I think I can make my own little god. I want to do that. And so they started making a little representation of something that they were going to worship, because it was much easier than having to go out and bow to this tree. I'll just make myself a little tree and I'll just bow to it in my house, and then it's mine and my idol and my thing. And it just, now in our days, we're like, look around our homes, look around our things and our children and our relationships. They have become the things that we think we've created. We think we've created these things. And have we created them, or has he brought them? Are we spending the time saying, Father, you are my portion? And he is saying, he is my God. You know what? I want to remind you, he chose us and then we choose him back. Remember, he said, if you will, and then I will. And they said, I do. It's like you're as the bridegroom. He chose us, and then we get to choose him back. This isn't just this universal idea. It's really personal. It's not universal that he gives things to people, but not you. He gives provision to all the people, but not you. This is really personal. David is saying he invests everything in me, and so that I'm going to give him back everything. And remember, we talked about this before, is that when we look and he says that he created us in his image, if you really look at the Hebrew in that creating us in his image, it's creating us as an idol, as a graven image of himself. We don't make other images because we are the image. We are for lack of better terms, the idol. We're the graven image of him. We're the ones, and he set us that's why we're tabernacling here. We are in this, we are the temple. We are the image of who he is. Everything that he is, he's put it in us. And I think that if we just sat in the power of that he has invested everything in me and I am his image. I am that. Every sphere of influence that I go into, I'm going to do that. And I'm going to be like, he's mine. He's sovereign. And I'm going to be able to talk like David and say, I yearn for you with my whole heart, God. I yearn for you. And then thinking of this path, we keep on going. He's talking about the path that he's taking. And we thinking of this path you must take. I want you to remember Psalm 16:9. He says, heart of a man plans his way, but the Lord establishes his steps. We can see this in this here. He's saying, gosh, look, I, I have considered my ways and turned my feet back to your testimonies. Have you done that? I have. Girl, we could sit here for a long time, and I can tell you, I went out. I went out and considered my ways. I went out and tried my own way. I looked around and thought something else might be better. I walked and did all these other things, and I came back to his testimonies because I found out that I might have had all these plans, but he's going to direct my steps. The other thing that tells me, you guys, you we don't live in shame. Don't keep looking in the rearview mirror because you aren't that powerful. He's sovereign. You can't mess it up that bad. He will direct your steps. All we have to do is humble ourselves in the sight of the Lord, right? And he says, he will lift you up. He will lift you up. He's in control. And I want to encourage you because I think there's a big weight that comes on us thinking that we have to make these big decisions and, oh, what if I mess up? And what if this happens? You don't have that much power. Does he give you free will? Yeah, if you want to go down that trail and you want to spin on that. But bottom line is he is sovereign and he will establish your steps. And what was the cost? The cost was to keep the mitzvah. And sometimes that cost can be high. It can be not taking a job, or it can be not working that day because it's a Shabbat and you can't work that day, or it's a feast day and you're not working because it's a Sabbath work day. You're not to work that day, and you have to, maybe you don't get paid that day. Maybe it's purchasing something for your home, like a mezuzah for the doorpost, or maybe it's getting things for the feasts and festivals to celebrate. Sometimes the cost of keeping things or giving, the cost of giving is a mitzvah. You're to give to the poor, give to the widows and the orphans. Because remember, Yeshua even said, you're going to say, come to me and say, oh, I did all these things. And I was so smart. I studied Torah and I did all these things. And he's going to say, I don't even know who you are. I was hungry and you didn't feed me. I was thirsty. You didn't give me something to drink, right? Whatever you did to the least of it, did you take care of the widows, the orphans, those that were in prison? Did you take care of those? Because that's who he's going to say, well done to, not because you knew all the Hebrew letters and stuff. I mean, I want to equip you to do this so you're strengthened. The whole reason to know this isn't so that you have more knowledge. Knowing this is so that your heart is encouraged, so that you can be blessed in this life. And so you embrace the words of his Torah so you can walk them out, not so that you can keep them by yourself in your house. So to gain the gain is the reward of eternity of these mitzvahs. Maybe it costs something here, but we continue to say, of course, we want to live on, we don't want to be so heavenly minded. We're not earthly good, right? But the reward is actually eternity. And it's so much greater than the pain of this world. And remember, whatever we've lost, I mean, I have lost a lot. I have lost businesses, homes, been homeless. I've gone through the gamut. And this loss is so temporary. They really do come and go. They really come and go. Verse 61, he says, the ropes of the wicked are coiled around me, but I did not forget your Torah. Again, the spelling on this is Headley. I have to go back and spell it. I was in a hurry when I wrote this, but he says the ropes of the wicked, they've surrounded me. If we go back in chapter 18 of Psalms, he's talking about the enemies are encamped about him, and I'm inundated with pain. And this is what this is talking about, is that when he's saying it's like a snake, when they're coiled around me, the imagery that he's trying to give you, it's like a snake coming around you and squeezing you. It's painful. And when you look at the Hebrew words of that, and if you listen to the commentaries on some of these, it's talking about the pain of childbirth, where it's that these things are surrounding me and I feel the pain. I mean, I just shared with you my testimony. It was painful. It was so painful feeling this pain of the squeezing of what's going to happen. And I want to remind you that sometimes new things don't come without pain. Sometimes to birth something new, to make a change, I am so grateful that that pain happened in that restaurant. We ended up closing it. We ended up selling things. We were able to pay that man back. And because of all the things, all the equipment and everything that we had sold, we had enough money to write him a check and give him the money back. We handed him the check and he said, I never thought I was going to see this again. but I was trusting God. I gave it away, trusting God that I'll never see this again. There was pain that happened, but what it did is it catapulted us into the next thing. I don't know what's around you right now that feels like it's squeezing you, and it might be you feel like you're coiled. That's your enemies, whatever the enemy is, it feels like it's coiled around you. The enemy might be you, your thoughts, coiled around you. But if we can dig our heels in to his Torah and remember these promises, those they have no power. I'm going to jump in. Let me look in real quick and see if we got anything I want to share. Very cool. Okay, so Amanda has on here, this is what she found for verse 61 for Hebel. Thank you for spelling that correctly. A cord, a rope, a territory, a band, a company, a rope, a cord, measuring cord or a line, a measured portion, a band of the company, pain, sorrow, travail, pains of travail. So that those pain and those pangs, if you look that word up and you really spend time in it in Hebrew, it is actually like birthing pains. Some of you might be going through a section in your life right now where something new is about to happen and it's very difficult. I'll let you guys read all those. Awesome. Thanks you, Amanda, for all this extra stuff on here. I will include the chat for those of you who are listening later. The chat is in the download section. It'll be in the download section of this lesson. Great. Embrace the grind, get the work done so we can rest. Exactly. There you go. Good. Awesome. Okay. So the letter Het, take you back. The letter Het, and we're here, is the number 8. And it's interesting because we have 8 that were saved from the flood. There were 8 souls saved from the flood. These are just random 8 facts. Okay. Boys are circumcised on day 8. I'd love to hear some of your 8 stuff. Throw out some stuff on here. What does the letter 8? Let's do it right now. We'll do this whole go ahead. I want to hear in your chat right now, right? Let me know what are some things, and if you're listening later, put it in the comments. What are some things associated with the number 8? I don't even care if you copy what's on here. What came to your mind right away? If you hear the number 8, do we worship numbers? No, we do not. But we know that the dimensionality is incredible in the Hebrew language with the gematria, which is the numbering system. And when things are added up, when there's numbers assigned to things, it isn't something we worship or we tell our future by, but it's a dimensionality given to his word. And I'm telling you, he's a genius. When you start understanding the numbers he put to things, amazing. Yes, great, Tish. I love that. Life, the great and 8th day. Yes. Oh my gosh. Boys again, circumcised on the 8th day. The covenant was reaffirmed to Abraham 8 times. Sukkot is 8 days. Again, it means new beginnings. And the word Chaim, or life, is the letter 8. So this was really a fun fact. I couldn't stand it. I had to share it with you. Let me move my little guy down here so I can read. The letter Het, when I was looking into this popped up for me that Isaac's name, his root is zakat. Okay, that's the root of Isaac's name. So when you're looking at this up, okay, Isaac's root, and there it is in Hebrew. It's the zadeh, a het, and a kof. So the zadeh it represents. I want you to fact check this. Someone fact check it. But zadeh is 90, which is the same age that Sarah was at Isaac's birth, and the kof on the other end is 100, and that's the same age as Abraham was at Isaac's birth. Okay, so you have it starts with 90 and ends in 100, and the Het is in the middle, which is that 8, which is life, and the place I found this, they said between the two of them would come life, and I thought that was too cool. It was just kind of a little fun fact to share with you. I thought it was cool. There's 3 kinds of this letter Het in the scrolls. You can see them. This is our secular form. That first one, it's like physical life. It's representing physical life. It is the hay with the closed window. And I'm going to open up the mic here in just a minute. We can talk about like what you might have learned about the letter Het. But the letter Het is the letter hay with the window closed up at the top. And if you look at it in the scrolls, it's written differently. And I think if you can look at the two of these, you can see the difference. And what is it here? If it's talking to life to the soul, your mind, your will, your emotions. Do you guys notice that there's, I don't know if you can see I think you can right there. You can see my little pointer up at the top right of this Het. You notice that there's a little tip is missing, right? And then if you look when it's talking about, oh goodness, when it's talking about spiritual life, it is actually has the extra little point at the top. Okay. I'll let you, that's just nerdy fact. All right. Stop and sharing. I do want to share one last thing with you guys. Oops. Cancel and where am I? Oh, there I am. Hi. I want to share one last thing with you. And here we go. Because it wouldn't be a class without this.
Hello, I'm so glad you were able to make it back with us. Okay, so this is the third part of the video series for the letter Chet. And today we're going to be talking about where is Yeshua in the midst of this letter Chet. Because this is the thing, guys. We can gain all the knowledge that we want, but unless it brings us closer to Jesus, to Messiah Yeshua, then the knowledge is of no value. It's just knowledge. It's just filling your head with stuff. And that's not what we're after here, right? We, you and I, are after knowing him, loving him, learning about him, and being able to be closer to him. Okay, so that's what this is all about. So where is Yeshua in the Het? Well, we have had a great time talking about the letter Het and all of its mechanics, how to write it, how to read it, how to transliterate it, CH, not ch, but we've learned all of that. We've learned that it's the number 8. We've learned that there's a story behind it. There's an energy behind the letter Het. And we've learned the covering, that covering energy, that purposeful energy that directs and guides and protects and covers and extends. That's all part of the letter Het. And we've learned that. So we know a little bit about the story of the letter Het. We know some vocabulary words. How did you do on those? The chai, the hen, the, what else? Let's see, we had chai, we had hen, we had chuppah. That was a good one. And then our fourth letter was chatat, which is the missing of the mark, and which is being off track, or missing the bullseye altogether, and the grace that covers us, and the way that the Holy One covers us in the midst of all of that. He's taking care of that too. And like Paul says, your grace, what you've been given, how you've been given the freedom, it's not for you to run around and continue missing the mark and to continue in lawlessness. That's not what it's for. Don't take that as an occasion of the flesh, he says. Don't take that as, run around willy-nilly, do what you want. You've got your fire insurance. You're not going to burn in hell. That's not life. Life is thriving. Life is living to the fullest. Life is seeing the gift that we've been giving and walking in the portion, remember, chalach, the portion that he's given us, because it's for a purpose. And it's not just for us, it's for the generations to come. It's not even just for our generation. I mean, it is for our generations, but on top of being for our generations, it's for all of those that are in our sphere of influence too, because we are affecting those around us. And so it's for a lot more. So we just want to make sure that we understand the beauty of this letter Het. It's the lifting up, it's the moving out of the mundane, it's the moving out of the norm. It's like for 6 days we work like crazy. We work. And then sundown Friday night, it's the Shabbat. And that 24 hours is our time to just delight in our master, the creator of the universe, to not only to delight in him, but to delight in our family, to delight in our friends, to delight in the beauty and the bounty that he has provided us with. And it moves us into a separation, a separating, a specialness, right? It moves us into a specialness, set apartness, we can say. And then that's the 7th day. And then the 8th day is like, yeah, now let's move it up. Let's take it up a next level. Let's go a little bit higher. And that's where we're at now. And that's kind of where we are with Yeshua, and seeing what he did for us, and seeing how he walked in the 8s. He walked in that realm, that heavenly realm, where he stayed in constant contact with the Father. He didn't judge things with his eyes in the sense of the knowledge of good and evil. He discerned things by the Spirit of God that dwelt within him, that resided within his flesh, the Spirit of God. And he kept his purpose. He stayed on target and kept his purpose so that we could watch him walk and so that we could shadow him. It wasn't unattainable. God didn't give us rules and regulations that we can't walk out. He didn't say, oh, these are the rules and you're going to break them all. Good luck with that. See ya. He said, step it up. He didn't ask us to be perfect in that we were sinless. He asked us to be holy. He said, be holy because I'm holy, set apart. And that's a process. It is not, and it's not, you don't arrive at that. It's a process. And so Yeshua walked that way, and we get to follow after him. Let's talk a little bit about some of the neat things that we can see in the letter Het that apply specifically to Yeshua and how he walked. In the Torah, in the book of Leviticus, it's talking about the high priest, and it's talking about in the tabernacle, and it's talking about how the high priest is to wear 8 vestments of garments. Okay, the regular priest has 4, but the high priest has 8, and each one of those vestments is another. The clothing, the vestment clothing that he is wearing, each one of those is a representation of another aspect of atonement. It's for another area of atonement that he covers for the people. And I think about Yeshua. I think about how he walked as our high priest. And even now, he is the mediator. He's the one saying, this is covering. My blood covered. Yeah. This vestment, my blood covered. Everything that you need, I have it. It's right here. I've paid the price. It's all good. And we have areas of our life that are so far from the mark, and he has it all covered. He has taken that upon himself, and everything that we have need of is within him. 8 items of clothing the high priest wore, each one representing another aspect of the atonement, so that everything head to foot is covered completely and totally. That's just one area of the 8s. The other 8, another 8 that is with Yeshua was that he was circumcised on the 8th day. So the circumcision, he was the first fruits, and he was circumcised on the 8th day. And that was a commitment to the covenant. And he walked it for us and said, come along. This is how you do it. What was another one? Oh my gosh. Oh, I remember the high priests changed their clothes on Yom Kippur 8 times. Interesting, huh? 8. Remember, 8 is taking us into this next realm. 8 is surpassing the standard of life, and it's going to the next realm. It's looking at the heavenlies. It's looking into the kingdom. So that's why I'm talking about these particular things, 8s. And I wanted to share with you real quick about the book of Luke, chapter 9, starts at verse 27. And you guys are all really familiar with the story. It is the story that took place on, we call it the Mount of Transfiguration. So Yeshua was standing on the Mount Transfiguration. He was standing there, and 2 gentlemen appeared and began talking to him about the fulfillment of what he was going to be accomplishing, what was happening, his impending departure, for one. And Peter wakes up. He was exhausted, I guess, and he was all groggy, I guess. That's how it sounds anyway. And he jumped up and he ran up and he said, "Oh, let me make you 3 sukkahs." Why would he make 3 sukkahs? Why would he be thinking that way? Well, it was during Sukkot, and people were dwelling in tents outside. It was the festival of Sukkot, and it was the 8th day. It was the 8th day of Sukkot, which is Shemini Atzeret, Shemini Atzeret, the 8th day of Sukkot. And there were no tents for those 2 gentlemen who just happened to be Moses and Elijah. Just came to visit, check in. And so all of you, those of you that are worried about Moses never being able to see the promised land, he was on the mount with Yeshua when the spirit that was in Yeshua was not able to be contained within the flesh that was covering him, and he was bursting forth from his spirit was bursting forth from his flesh. And Moses was there at that time, and so was Elijah. Isn't that beautiful? These eights are pretty incredible, and I see Yeshua in them, and I see how he covers us. I see how his grace is more than sufficient. His hen is more than sufficient. I see how he walked and told us to follow him, how he walked and told us to come with him, how he walked and he healed and he loved and he fed and he redeemed and he forgave. These are the things that he did in his walk, and they are exactly what we're to be doing as we follow him so closely as his shadow. We follow him.
Okay. So I'm encouraging you to go back, watch the rest of that. Go watch the first two videos on that is about the letter. And then as you're watching those, I want you to go back to these verses and how is he talking about he is my portion. We're going to stop the video and have some chat. We'll do our chat time so that we divide this up for those of you listening later. But for those of you listening in this section, I want you to take that time to go through each one of these verses. And now that you have an understanding of what does het mean, I want you to ask yourself, where am I seeing that life? Where am I seeing that 8? Where am I seeing the new beginnings? Where am I seeing the things and the hope that's in that? Where am I seeing it in these 8 verses? And be blessed, and we will see you next week.